Good evening, everyone. Before I hand over to the chair of tonight's meeting, I remind everyone here in the room we are now live streaming. Excuse me. We politely request that all participants waiting are being invited to speak by the chair. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. Once invited to speak, please preface your contribution by stating your name. This will help the mic to lock in on the primary speaker and thereby maximise the sound quality for those watching at home. If you are watching at home and participate in tonight's meeting, please turn your video on. If you're just observing, please turn your video off. Unless actively speaking, all those watching the meeting by Zoom should have their mics muted. I'll now hand over to tonight's chair, Councillor Griffin.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have to remind you that the council has a general duty to consider crime, disorder, health and safety, human rights, and the need to conserve biodiversity. The council also has a duty to tackle discrimination, provide equality of opportunity for all, and foster good relations in the course of developing policies and delivering services under the Public Sector Equality, Duty and Equality Act. Item 1 on the agenda is to receive apologies for absence.
Councillor Raby, Councillor Alford and Councillor Cook.
And are there any declarations of interest? Oh, thank you. Public participation. Are there any members of the public, either online or attending in person, that want to address the meeting other than in respect to an agenda item which follows?
Good evening, Chair. My name is David Packard. I'm from Nottingham Parish Council, and I'm also chair of the steering group for the neighbourhood plan. I'm here to hear the presentation about the upside development. Hearing is the opposite word because I can't hear what either of you two gentlemen are saying at the front. Would it be possible for us to come and sit closer so we can actually hear you?
Yes, I'm happy with that.
Thank you.
Please do.
Good idea. Does that count for all four of us?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
You want to be do more presentation. So whether you want to go would do it at the end.
Are you all here in respect of the upside presentation?
Yeah, well, we are. So,
These gentlemen are going to make a presentation and we can listen to Councillor Harris and I are listening.
Great, thank you very much.
there is one other thing on the agenda, if I may, Chair. I see you've got a planning application which you were unable to respond to because you ran out of time or something.
The deadline expired.
The deadline passed. Yeah. Somebody on your council must be aware that you can apply for an extension to that date so that you are able to comment.
Well, we have in the past, haven't we?
Yeah.
Despite the fact that the date has passed, we've sent in comments, but see, I don't know who.
I mean, we on Parish Council do that as a matter of routine.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think providing it's nothing too contentious, Wiltshire Council will hopefully take account of anything that was only a day or so late.
They're usually pretty amenable, we find.
Reasonably flexible.
Thank you.
Can I just comment on that one? I think actually that might even be a duplicate that could look remarkably similar to something we had in a previous application. So I think that one may have come up already.
I did search, but I couldn't find it on a previous one, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there.
I mean,
that's still great.
It is possible that we have had two extremely similar applications, a few houses from each other in the close, I suppose.
Yes, I do recall something, one property within the close
We were looking
meeting or two ago.
at plans 3 weeks ago, and the description from this here looks remarkably similar.
So, moving on then, item 4 is the minutes of the meeting held on the 6th of August. there any comments or revisions proposed? So, item 5, presentation on the land at Upside Melksham.
Are you Johnny? Yeah, just Stuart.
Really, we've only got 3 sets of drawings. If we'd been more prepared, I'd have the larger ones just a little more. Begin, and there's a little bit more context on the smaller drawing.
Yeah, they're basically the same drawing, but this one's zoomed in to show the actual.
Yeah, I did look at it on.
This is a slightly updated drawing to address a few of the concerns since we were last here.
But the smaller drawing, which shows the overall site, we thought we'd show you that one because throughout the consideration of the application, people have assumed that the end of this drawing is Bunch Lane. Well, in actual fact, yeah, it's an awful lot further than that, and basically the actual built area is the scrapyard area. So just to step back a little bit, 2 years ago, and just over 2 years ago, we spent quite a bit of. I think we came to see the town council and the Melksham Without Parish Council. Not quite so often, but I think we came to see the town council 2 or 3 times in the preparation of our planning application, and then once it had been submitted. We made that planning application in October 22, and it generated quite a bit of interest. You may recall town council commented and basically had no objection and supported the development. Unfortunately, the EA's flood maps that cover this particular site are incorrect, clearly incorrect. You know, the highest parts of the site, which are, you know, sort of towards the height of the bridge over the railway, are shown as flooding. So we've spent the last 2 years working. I'm going to say working with the EA. Might be a little generous to say that, but we've gone to the most incredible lengths of modelling the flood performance of South Brook in where it runs through the site. It really has been the most incredibly complex and detailed exercise in going through our approach and our flood levels, which I'm very pleased to say eventually the EA agreed with us, and they have withdrawn their objection and are now supporting the planning application. So we've overcome all of the flood issues that relate to the redevelopment that we're proposing. That means that you know, clearly it was a major objection. It was you know, clear that we wouldn't be able to go forward with it unless we were correct in our assessment of the flood performance of South Brook. And so although the planning application has remained live and hasn't been determined, it was basically held up whilst we were going through this exercise with the Environment Agency. So what we've now done is is turn to the comments that were made during our consultation exercise and those comments that were made to the planning application when the consultation went out soon after the planning application was submitted. And this is our working draft. We've tried to address as many of the comments as we can. The scheme's changed in layout terms, not a great deal, but it has changed. The basic approach is remaining exactly the same. Pro alloys kept at the front, some commercial units on the other side of the access road, with the residential development then on the area that was basically the scrapyard. It's 112 units, mainly houses. I think there might be 15 flats, 1 and 2 bedroom flats. The remainder it is all housing. It's
designed to be zero carbon in use. All of the houses meet the nationally described space standards, even though those have been superseded by new legislation, but all of our houses are designed and built to NDSS.
There's a whole range of house sizes from 2 beds through to 4 beds. We will, if we can get planning permission, undertake the development with a housing, in conjunction with a housing association who will be providing the affordable elements. It will result, if we can do it, it will result in a very wide range of house types, housing tenures, and meeting a wide range of housing need and housing demand. I won't go back over all the sort of credentials that we've used. You know, be happy to sort of talk through all the elements in the neighbourhood plan and how we addressed all those policies, even though they weren't in place at the time that we were doing most of the design. So we have an opportunity. We haven't resubmitted these drawings yet. They are draft. You know, if there are comments that you want to make, any suggestions, ideas. And one thing we have done, I remember the then mayor was very keen to increase the flood holding capacity of the site, which we
create some wetland areas.
Do you remember which mayor that was?
It's a young chap, I can't remember his name.
I think it was your previous mayor.
Must be Simon.
Simon, indeed.
Still a young man.
It was Simon, indeed.
Watching from his caravan, he'll be on to you later.
Yeah. So we've increased those wetland kind of swales we call them to hold up water. And can you remember the current flows from our specific development?
We reduced from about 370 litres per second of discharge from the site to about 6 litres per second from current levels to post-development levels through quite a broad range of SUDS hierarchy. You know, it is predominantly swales, but we have also included a range of permeable paving. All of the car parking areas are permeable with crates underneath. I think we've also got 3 swales along the site. All of the sewers have been oversized to create flows inside them before the hydro breaks. Hydrock have done a very thorough micro drainage analysis that we'll be happy to make available to you. But really the peak flows that we're reducing are substantial amounts of water. You know, if you think of a 1,000-litre tub, we're filling one of those up every 3 seconds at the minute, you know, and that will take roughly an hour post-development. So there's real reduction in the amount of water being discharged from this site.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know, those who were around when the application was first made, we've got plans that I'm free to say I'm very proud of, to provide foot and cycle links through the site, you know, that will run through an area that we're calling public open space. It will facilitate the open area that is in the neighbourhood plan as number 1. I've forgotten what it's called. Anyway, you know, it would secure that particular area of open space and create public
orchard, allotments, a range of different activities. We're looking at including different age playgrounds
and wildlife areas, you know,
wetland areas.
Yeah, dense planting on the Bath Road to create a bit of a barrier to that road.
You mentioned earlier the carbon neutral
Yes,
proposal of it. Are
yes,
you anticipating solar panels?
yes.
Right.
Every unit will have solar panels. The flats are a little more tricky, as I'm sure you can imagine. What we tend to do is use the PV panels to create lighting to communal areas for the flats.
And I note that on the initial application back in 2022, one of our observations was that the number of EV charging points was 150.
Sorry, we should have mentioned that. We are now looking to provide EV charging facilities to the private parking bays.
Though there is one really important factor there, and it's an issue we're bumping into all the time. You know, we can only provide the capacity for charging that the actual network serving the area can cope with. Yes. And that we're finding is our biggest constraint in providing electric car charging points.
But just to be clear, the houses will be built ready to take that infrastructure. So the fuse board and the switches and the amp rating for each unit will be adequate. And in reality, if you had 112 people move in, they're not all going to have an electric car on day one. So those that do can request the larger fuse to be installed from the DNO. And as the network in the surrounding areas is improved, of course, the penetration can increase.
I mean, with electric car charging, even if all 119 had an electric car,
If they did.
what proportion of them would actually be charging at the same time?
That's a very good point.
What is the graphic of it? I mean, most cars spend their time sitting doing nothing.
Indeed.
That's all cars, not just electric cars. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. I mean, the amount of time a petrol or diesel car spends in the gas station is minimal.
Yeah.
Electric cars, it's a rather higher proportion of their time, but
Improving. But yeah.
Interestingly as well, we're looking to put in 15 fast charging bays at the front of the site. So, you know, even if you chose not to have a charger in your own home, you could pop the car in there and charge quickly.
yes. Can I come with a couple of other questions?
Of course.
Most certainly.
It's really just following up and making sure that other things haven't changed from before. You have a barrier and protection there alongside the railway.
Correct.
Indeed.
There's be space left there for the second track to be restored, should that be necessary.
We've been in discussions with Network Rail
Yes.
and they'll be consulted on the new drawings, of course.
And remember, you know, the boundary is where the boundary to the railway always has been.
Pre-beaching.
I'm pretty sure that the space for the second.
Yes.
Ridge.
Yes, you've got to be slightly careful because the existing track has been, in parts, they're not through the platform, slightly centred. Because over many, many years, embankments and cuttings degrade. So when the line is singled, track tends to get moved towards the centre.
Interesting.
Interesting. But if you notice it, there is a walkway.
That is not the case there, and I notice here what appears to be a potential back gate.
That is a requirement, an agreement we have with Network Rail to provide them with access to
In fact, you might have seen, if you're still on the railway, you can
Yes.
see the large palisade gates.
I know it all too well.
Yeah.
So that's what that is. That's why that's.
That's utterly fine. And the other thing we were talking before is that you have an area here of, I'm not sure what the term is, well, brownfield area, which is very brown indeed,
Yes.
shall we say,
Yes.
to clear up, and goodness knows what has been there in the
Yeah.
past.
Yes.
You've got the asbestos shed, I think, and
Yes.
various things at the
Yes,
moment.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Part of the planning arrangement there, and this was where the, oh, I get my 106s and my CALs mixed up, was to be cleaning up the land here so that there's access through to Foundry Close.
We've
Now,
given.
we were talking about that just before the meeting there, but if you like on camera, that is there. and included still.
We've given that commitment.
So that gives us access through to North Melksham from the railway line, sorts that issue.
Of course, to be clear, we'll have to be given license to go into that area and tidy it up and
What we've actually said is we will either pay for it to be done
Yeah.
or
we will do it.
do it.
Yes. And if you have the equipment yourself on the other side of the railway, there's a degree of sense in you doing it.
We'd be delighted to.
We prefer to do it.
That is fine, that's just, I mean, one of the interesting things is that this here becomes very much more outside town. Since you were here before, it felt that the town council set forward a strategy for the future. And one of its main strategies is to improve and make sure public transport. So this is an important one.
Do those works as part of our scheme.
You have here do we have a closing date for consultations yet?
So to be very clear, we've told Wiltshire Council, case planning manager, that we're updating the drawings.
Right.
But we've said that they should be submitted in the week after next.
Okay.
So several things. You do have a chance to comment on what we've given you tonight. We'd be pleased to look at your ideas. But secondly, once those go back in, you will be formally consulted. Both parish councils will be consulted by Wiltshire Council on those revisions. And you'll have the opportunity
And that
to
is on the
comment.
conventional timescale.
Yes, I think so.
Not the time.
As far as I know.
Not the timescale taken on this so far, nor the timescale on the Wilson Marks Canal.
Police Shield does pop into mind.
Okay.
We was about to get back to my hobby horse of the EA and everything we've done, but I won't.
No.
I think we've modelled well into the dozens of different scenarios for the EA, right from the tube underneath Bath Road, the culvert being completely blocked in the 1 in 1,000 year event with 30% climate change. And effectively, the Bath Road acts like a dam.
Yes.
The water raises to a certain level, and after that, it pours over it. And in fact, in previous iterations of the scheme, we looked at increasing the capacity of that culvert under the Bath Road. But of course, if we do that, all of the water that's held up in the area of the site that does flood pours straight through and creates worse
Makes
flooding.
flooding worse further down. Yeah.
Not popular.
No. Or certainly wouldn't be popular.
One of the other things that has arisen here, I don't know if you have any comment, is that crossing this road by pedestrians outside is not clever. It's
Is that visibility?
It's the visibility from the bridge here.
Yeah.
It's not clever down here.
Yeah,
And
I
the
can
traffic
imagine
moves
that.
fast. And the bus stop here is outside Lenin House, which is across the road.
Careful indeed.
Yeah. So,
Traffic coming in and out is quite difficult if you've got it going both ways.
yes.
I know down here it's only one way out, isn't it? And then you have to go round, come all the way back.
No, you don't from the station.
No.
No, you can turn right out to the station.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Right, but there's just a concern there. I mean, the bus stop here, and this is a comment from my colleagues, the bus stop outside Blenheim House is on a relatively narrow pavement. So it is a bus stop, hardly anything else, and hardly any other side. The recommended one for the station, which means people are walking down there and crossing. There is not space for a shelter, because if you try to put a shelter up there, big lorry coming by just slightly off skew will knock the shelter.
To see what we can do. We can have a look at that.
It's just, it's interesting to have a look at that there.
Or could we move the bus stop there? Sure.
Well, I think you can look at all of those things. The road becomes so narrow.
The problem is that, I mean, we would prefer the bus stop to be here.
Where's that, where?
However, that is opposite the top of Station Approach, because a lot of people use the bus to get to the station, and that should be closer. However, that is on a relatively sharp corner, and you're going to have more traffic problems. The traffic engineers have said it's somewhere between now and hell zone. And I can understand that.
We suggesting that we could improve that.
There's just an issue there.
Which we'll have a chat with our highway planners.
Do you have a look and
separate crossing?
And, you know, I mean, the station has grown from, here comes the publicity, 3,000 journeys a year, to 75,000 pre-COVID.
Wow.
And the recommendation, the suggestion, if it mirrored any other West Wilts town, it would be 400,000 a year.
Wow.
So it is a concern for the
If you
future.
remember, we said that we would reserve space.
We had just here. Space to
For
pay
the,
the bridge. I had the conversation with the Melton Without Cancer a second ago.
I'm not sure that that's going to gain, sorry to say this, it's not going to gain a great deal on that stuff there. It could be useful there, and again, useful to coming to here, because one of the things we're looking at with stations and public transport is keeping the access points porous.
Absolutely.
By which, or I'm leaning, not just, I mean, here, you know, it's a heck of a walk up there. You know, gone are the days it was so quiet down there at night, you could watch the bunny rabbits hopping around with the late train.
We will, we'll see what we can do with that.
That's just,
We'll talk to, we're using Hydrock for the engineering, the transportation engineering. We'll talk to them. They'll certainly
I mean, it's-
come back.
you know, you didn't say, hey, bring up anything at this point.
Yeah, indeed.
And,
Would rather know about it now.
yeah.
Is the position of it, or is it crossing the road that's the problem, or is it both?
It's crossing the road,
Yeah,
and it's the distance from here
to the railway
through to
station.
the railway station, especially when you're
Yeah.
doubling back
Mhm.
in the top there.
Yeah.
Now, there were differences of opinions,
Yeah.
and one of the local Wiltshire councillors reckons that that's quite a reasonable walk.
Well,
I find it 5 to 7 minutes, and I would prefer, and I disagree with him.
We can certainly look into it, see what we can do.
Wayne,
Yes,
you know, when you stood on the platform,
yes,
to your left, you've got the Bath Road going over.
yes,
Right, there used to be some steps going up that.
they still are.
They're still there?
They're hidden in the brambles and
Yeah.
totally unusable.
Well,
They're still,
well,
that's the one historic part of the old station
well,
that's still
could they
there.
not be reinstated and, you know, because that would cut down walking time for a start.
It would cut down the walking time. I'm not sure how you would do with access past Melksham Tires.
We
Um,
did, we
Looked into it.
and we got our Hydrock, the transportation guys to look at it. It's 2 years ago, I've forgotten there was a problem.
I suspect it's more trouble than it's worth. I suspect it is steeper than a modern staircase would be allowed
Yeah,
to
it's
be.
really steep.
And there's supposed to be an intermediate stop and thing
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So
It would need quite a bit of modernising.
I'm sure it could be done.
I mean, it's
And,
well-
and immediately you're going to get certain people saying it's not wheelchair accessible,
Oh, it won't be, yeah.
which the road up here would be.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd welcome the space being reserved for the bridge.
Happy
Having
to.
said which, that is not going to, would be unlikely to be an accessible bridge.
Unlikely, indeed.
I mean, if you've seen bridges at places like Ashchurch and Tewkesbury, when so the bridge goes up and down, and I don't think we're looking to do it or whatever. The proposal, should the railway line be widened,
Yes.
would not necessarily be 2 tracks through Melksham. Rather, it would be a single track through Melksham with loops, passing loop somewhere beyond the station.
Yeah.
Or a very long platform extending right about here, like they've done at Penryn in Cornwall.
Indeed, yeah.
Dovey Junction and Bad Doberman in Germany.
There we go.
Sorry, Bad Doberman. Bad Doberman is a dog breed.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the steps there, I can appreciate that's going to be thanks for looking. No, this here,
We'll have a look into what we can.
if something could,
We'll have a look and we'll come back. We'll come back,
Let
yeah.
me know, let me, let the clerk, let the.
Indeed, if any of you
clerk know.
have any thoughts or concerns, you know, you've got our numbers, you've got the email addresses, please do feel free to get in touch.
That there would be a big community win for you if you could.
We'll see what we can do.
When the revised drawings is submitted and you're consulted, we'll come back and just
Explain what we've done.
talk again.
Yes, okay,
That's a question.
of course.
I can only see one tiny little space that says play space on it. So,
Yeah, you need it actually, if you, it probably would help if you had a look at the landscape scheme for this area.
Some of these areas here, there's allotments and small
well, yeah, I
play
can see there
spaces.
are, but there's houses, and I mean, people who live in those houses are not going to welcome kids chucking balls against the walls and things like that. I mean, this happens all the time, isn't it? So,
What we get, there's so many factors that influence what you can do, but if we were to put a playground in the flood area, I suspect.
You'll have to pay it, they can't use it.
Precisely. And also there does need to be a degree of overlooking. There's always a degree of conflict, but you know, antisocial behaviour does tend to happen more when a playground doesn't have a degree of indirect supervision. Of course, there's a privacy issue. It's always a very difficult balance, and you know, we're sort of stuck in the middle of trying to provide something that is usable, but also is community managed as such.
so are you planning to put in any equipment in this place?
I will be allowed, indeed.
Local equipped area pledges.
To give you an idea, that space is probably not dissimilar to this room.
Okay. So you would be putting something there?
Yeah, indeed, indeed, there'll be a full specification
All right.
on our all conditions. Any other thoughts or comments or questions?
Chair, I was delaying, hoping that your members were going to ask questions on access in and out of the site, sustainability, because schools and shops are a long way away. But if they don't wish to raise those issues, would you mind if I did?
No, not at all.
Yes, go ahead.
Right. Thank you. First thing is, there appears to be just one vehicular access point.
Correct,
Right.
correct, on to the Bath Road.
And how will people coming from Melksham Town turn right into this development, given the traffic concerns on that particular road? Similarly, anybody coming out of wishing to go towards Shore and Bath would have great difficulty getting out and turning right.
That's where we had a right turn lane in in that junction. You know, a right turn in coming from,
Segregated lane.
yeah, separate right turn lane into the site. But in their wisdom, you know, between our highway engineers and the county council, that has been taken out. And I'm reliably told by our consultants that you know it won't create, you know, when you time the number of trips coming out, peak periods, and it won't create much, if any, queue.
Let me outline a scenario to you. Given the distance between this development and the local schools, at 8:30 in the morning, there will be a queue of cars trying to get out of that site to go to the various schools. At 3:30, there'll be another queue along Bath Road trying to get into the site, dodging the traffic that's coming from Bath. So it's not really a question because you obviously aren't able to answer it at the moment, but I would advise you, if I may, that when you make this as an application, you address.
It is a current planning application.
And of course,
You address those issues.
They have,
the highways have accepted the position under an agreement with our analysis and our engineers' analysis.
So sustainability.
so sustainability, in terms of its location, I actually think it's extremely
Be more
well
sustainable
located
in terms of
in
location.
relation to Melksham. You know, it's an easy walk into the town centre shops, convenient for the railway station. There are bus services on Bath Road, though we heard the limitations to those. So bus services are easily accessible. So it is, I would say to you, a highly sustainable location.
Well, I think you might find quite a lot of local residents who disagree with you.
I'm sure people,
We have 2 doctor's surgeries in the area, and both of them the opposite side of town from this development. People will want to go to the doctors. Yes, the bus that goes past the development will also go past the doctors, but they run every half hour, and you might find that there's greater demand.
so moving on a little, sustainability in its broader sense. You know, these houses are being designed to be highly efficient, highly energy efficient. You know, we think there'll be zero carbon in use. It's redeveloping previously developed wasteland that if we don't do this, all that will happen to it is that it will reopen as a scrapyard.
Yeah.
We have regular
And there is an active block pressing licence on the site.
No, I understand all that. And,
you know, just trying to broaden the idea of sustainability. It's not simply about cars getting in and out
that is
of.
a major part of it.
I'm not undermining it. I'm just talking to you about
People want to
sustainability.
use every day, like the library campus. It's as far from this as you can possibly get in Melksham. If they want to come to campus or town centre shops or the schools or the doctors and dentists, they'll come by car. A lot of them will come by car, and therefore, you know, in the era of seeking carbon neutrality, that's a major issue.
I say, you know, what I would say to you though is, you know, what happened with the decisions to locate these things so far from these parts of Melksham. Yeah, and I don't think, yeah, absolutely.
Local residents have asked all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why aren't there no schools
Yeah.
and dentists and doctors
Yeah.
on this side of town?
Yeah.
It's we ask all the time.
Yeah.
And in the neighbourhood plan,
Yeah.
what we're trying to do is to, the perennial question is, do you build houses near the facilities, or do you build new facilities near the new houses?
Well,
And as long as a housing policy is led by developers, they'll do whatever it takes to make more profit. We're talking about the big ones, not the small ones. But it is a perennial problem.
Do you find that interesting when we're discussing a brownfield site, previously developed land, adjoining the centre of town? And I think what anyone from an analytical point of view would agree is a highly sustainable location. You know, I do understand that planned-led development should direct houses towards services, but you end up with these windfall sites as towns change. And frankly, I think we all probably understand that there's going to be a lot more windfall sites coming in Melksham.
and Frank, you know, I couldn't agree with you more. And I reintroduce strategic planning. I think, you know, development should relate to a plan-led system, but the system we've got is so slow, complicated and archaic. You get the sort of things happening that you're highlighting to us, these poor decisions on locating key infrastructure.
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, we need a much faster, much more responsive development plan system, including neighbourhood plans.
Do you mind if I kind of?
Not at all. I don't have enough time.
Do you actually have any plans within your plans, or any kind of community hubs, community, like the pool or anything that, at all, like within the correct sort of commercial area?
No, we did talk to the clerk, I think, about, we did talk about the possibility of using one of the commercial units for your grounds storage of your machinery. But that's and of course
so much for the community of the actual development there.
No, but again, you know, it's not a bad walk to these facilities. I accept the community campus is.
Well, we've run into a bit of an issue on other areas, slightly further out, that are still apart from Melksham in the east, and that where you know, a community hall would have been much more helpful. Things like, you know, just you know, little events that they want to put on, and for election times and things like that. So it was just because it's just quite a way out. We don't say expensive, but still to have something for themselves. I was just curious whether little shops or anything could be put in there.
Of course, those 2 units on the front will be open market offered, and you know, we could look to guide those to be a community store or a convenience store or such. But you know, really, again, it's quite hard to find someone to take a commitment at this stage.
I'm listening here to what Dave and Charlie have been saying, and a little seed is starting to grow. You see, one of the things that strikes me as interesting of all, and the bus is only this often and all the rest of it there, and there's no community building. We've been talking about a second town bus because we lost the first one during COVID. Running from, it's just a few yards as the crow flies, but we know the problems crows have flying around this area already, through there to the town centre, possibly campus, out to Charlie's area around the east, to the sporting areas there, to the medical areas at the south. And I'm just finding myself wondering if the second town bus, providing the rail link, can also, as well as providing the rail link, provide a useful facility for the people here to be getting in and out of town, and without it, you know, turning that there. Hey, it's a transport hub. Let's not call it a station. Let's call it, what's the term? NAPTAN, isn't it? National Passenger Transport Access Network point. And let's call it that. We already know that we have a hub there, which could be a cafe and stuff of that sort of thing there. So this is just a seed starting to grow. So please do not put it in your plans as whatever overnight.
But I can see, you know, I can see a lot of advantage in linking, you know, railway stations with other forms of transport. You know, that's really see those.
You know, that's there was just a thought. I mean, it's not purely the railway station. I mean, this is you go out into Charlie's area in Skylight there, and you know, there were 2 buses a day that will call there at 10:15 and 12:15, and this is, you know, a residential area which is 1.5 out of town.
Very wide property.
And you know, it doesn't justify a service in itself.
No.
With all the other things, it starts to do so.
And the result is people use cars.
Well, just sort of kicking around in my head a slightly more radical idea. How would it work if one or more of these commercial units was a GP surgery
great. You know, we tried talking to the local GP.
Specifically to service the north side of town.
We
we did
couple of
actually,
years ago, we tried talking to the local GP, but didn't get.
and the Combined Health Authority,
Yeah,
but
Just kicking the idea around.
I think it would be a great idea.
For this.
We'd be very receptive.
Alone.
Yeah.
For this development to fund that sort of scheme wouldn't be economically viable, but as part of the wider plan,
I think
in terms of location.
we
We'd be
we
delighted if they
certainly
are part-
work with you to try and get a GP suit. We've tried. We did try. In fact, we tried a dental.
dentist as well.
Yeah,
We wrote to the
We-
Combined Health Authority and
Yeah.
never heard back.
so, but I think it's a really good idea.
That would have been middle of 22 prior to the application being
You'd be
submitted.
ready to try again?
Yeah, we would love
Happily,
to.
happily.
Yes, I mean, I was at that sort of earlier thing there. Two of the four of us here tonight are new councillors there, so I can assure you that these things were looked at.
Yeah.
Which is not to say we're not there in different times. Clearly we are because we have a different council. But nevertheless, the reason I wasn't asking these things earlier, which relates to the other stuff as well, David, is actually I think I asked them before and it's no change. I mean, I find myself looking there at that comment about leaving space there for a bridge. And the question is, I wonder what a bridge would cost.
Are you thinking of a bridge by the railway station?
Yes.
I was thinking more from Foundry Close.
Isn't there a gap there already?
Yes, there is.
Yeah, well, that's been there for 10 years and we've tried several times to get that one. I mean, they've actually got the little road there and then you've just
Oh,
got a wall.
No, we'll get it to Foundry Close. That is sorted on this here. This is part of their proposal to actually sort out that dirty land behind Novacast.
Yeah.
And if there is still a problem with somebody removing the fence, we'll do some guerrilla fence removal at night. I mean, I talk in jest, the sheer frustration of their is crazy. Now, I'm looking there talking bridge, actually I was talking bridge across railway, and that would need to allow for future electrification because there's an awful lot of freight traffic that goes through there. And amazingly, the railway line through Melksham is one of the prime early candidates for electrification in the next 10 to 15 years.
Well, interesting.
So, you know, it's not like we'll do that with battery trains, electrify it come 2070. It's not one of those. Those are elsewhere. So a bridge over there that would go over the electrics and would then lead down. And I'm saying, could it be steps or would we have to do something else round?
I really don't know. I don't know.
If you get away with, if you say the accessible was round there,
Yeah.
and they have a big walk round exactly like that in Trowbridge, then that could be an immediate access there.
Yeah.
Your shop access is here. There is, I mean, it's closed at the moment for refurbishment, I believe, but there is a good, some say, restaurant here with twin arches.
Golden ones.
And that there, with the access through there, is really very close. And that starts bringing your shops in here and your walking distance to the shops at North Melksham.
I've actually carried out developments where we've crossed network rails lines, and it was it turned me grey.
I wondered how you turned away so young.
It was extremely difficult. So we're happy to make a reservation.
Yeah.
Taking on, you know, the cost and the problems of crossing the railway line. We'd rather leave that to an authority.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that there, but now is the time to
We
raise
need
the
to
issues.
wrap this up and move on
Yeah,
to other agenda items.
I don't wish to make you feel that I hold you responsible for this. Not at all. Not at all. And within 5 minutes of me speaking and you answering before, Councillor Evans came up with this idea of an extra bus. That would meet all sorts of need, wouldn't it? Also, the other suggestion was to use one of these commercial units as a medical centre. excellent. The
Very
trouble
happy
with-
to look at that.
The trouble with that issue is not the bricks and mortar or the warehouse conversion.
Absolutely.
It's the doctors. and
Absolutely.
nurses,
Absolutely.
of which there is a national shortage. So but that isn't your fault, you know, it's up to us, particularly on the neighbourhood plan steering, to push for this kind of infrastructure, because otherwise developments like this, developments out in the east or the far east, as I might say, because Wiltshire Council wants to develop greenfield land even further east than has been described so far. You know, it just begins to become ridiculous, and therefore this whole strategic issue has got to be dealt with. So thank you very much.
I agree with you.
Completely agree.
And genuinely, you know, love to work with whoever to try and get a doctor's surgery. I think it makes so much sense to.
And we did have a good go
We did.
in 22 to try and get the local health authority or one of the
And the local-
GPs and the local dentist.
GP.
That's something we can, as you know, the local GPs, when asked the question, they say that they don't need a new surgery. They've got capacity in their existing premises. That isn't the same as being able to provide the service required, the care required to the 3 care homes we've got to look forward to in Melksham and all the extra houses which we know are coming.
Yes.
So it's the personnel, it's the staff of which there is such a shortage. So it's not an easy answer.
Also, just make it easy for those who are vulnerable and elderly to be able to get out from places, these areas, to get to those areas. GP specialists.
Just a quick one, if I may. You touched on EV charging points. What are your plans for solar generation and battery storage in?
Every unit will have solar. Battery is driven by post-planning. We effectively use a sustainability consultant that looks at each individual unit, how it's positioned, and comes up with a strategy to meet and exceed building regs. So we couldn't say if units will have or won't have battery units, but it's all driven by.
What we've done so far is used an inverter, so that you know the electricity that's generated on the roof is either fed back into the system, or you know if you're actually using electricity in the house, it's used in the house.
And of course, we've got thermal batteries as well. So we have very large hot water tanks that whilst the sun's out, you heat all of your water for heating. They're made by Sun Amp.
Oh,
You can have a little look. They're quite
familiar with the
clever. Yeah, I should imagine it's the same idea.
We're trying a development at the moment where we're using, yet to see how successful it will be, where we're using, you know, solar panels with an MVHMR system.
With an air source system.
With PV, an air source, and just to try and see then how efficient we can make that and how little energy. You know.
Can I suggest you try that same scenario with batteries?
Yeah.
Solar is all very well during the day,
Yeah.
but you need to be able to store some of that energy to use at night.
Yeah. That's why we use an inverter. You know, it you know, plugs into the system when you're not using it, back into the grid when you're not using it, and you draw off if you're using more than you're generating within the building.
Yeah, I'm familiar with how it works.
Yeah. Oh, you are. Yeah.
Batteries are essential.
Yeah, interesting.
We'll certainly look into it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And
So
please,
thanks for your time.
If you had any questions or comments, do feel free to get in touch.
Thank you both as well for coming as well.
Well, thank you very much.
It's very good discussions.
Very, very useful indeed. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
We don't mind if you go off and leave.
I'm going to slightly naughtily encourage our 2 guests from Melksham without, in that we are looking in due course local siting and walking infrastructure plan. Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, item 7 on the agenda, planning applications, and 7.1 is reference number 07087. 1 Addison Road, a proposed single-storey wraparound extension with disabled adaptation.
Plenty of room for that.
Yeah, I can't see
Mm.
any issues at all with that one. So, do we have agreement that we
Yeah,
support
sure.
that?
No, no objection.
Yeah.
Proposal, second.
No, I propose.
Beginning to.
Question here, looking back to the minutes from last time. This is a question for that Andrew there. Is it possible to put just a note of what the address or something like that is, rather than we've approved that? Because I looked back to last time's minutes, and whilst they're accurate, so I accepted them. It doesn't actually tell us if we come to look back at some date in the future as to what the particular building was.
Well, possibly, yeah.
Thank you. That came up when we had a look at this 18 The Close. I looked back to, I thought that was last time. I looked back through it. It just says, you know, application approved, application approved, application approved. And that's have an index.
So we have the planning reference.
So there's the plan reference number, and it then just says accepted.
So if we had the address,
Purely have a single extra piece of text, which is the address.
On Addison Road.
I'm trying to help keep Andrew in a job.
I don't think there's going to be any difficulties with that. So item 7.2.
Actually vote.
Sorry?
You didn't actually vote.
Oh,
Oh, no, we didn't. I proposed.
all in favour? So item 7.2, 18 The Close. This is the one which was response by 26th, which was Sunday, wasn't it? No,
Yes,
no, Monday, yesterday. 2-storey side extension to dwelling. I have to admit, I've
Do you
not.
want to propose it?
I'll propose it. I don't have any issues with it.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, in favour? Yeah.
Here we go. 7981 came up last time, 66/24. Proposed by Councillor Mann, seconded by Griffin, and unanimously resolved with support.
It's 6981.
6981 from last time.
You said 7.
So,
You just said 7, sorry. I did search, but the search option isn't always great. So I searched under the number and it didn't come up with it because I thought I'd seen it before, to be honest.
we've looked at it and approved it.
I thought I'd seen it, but I searched and I couldn't find anything. So I thought, okay, I'll put it on. But yeah,
Okay.
I thought I looked at the comments as well.
We are actually in the comments, MTC.
Obviously, I
So
didn't.
it was the
I don't
application.
go to the comments of the highway
So
department.
it's highways.
So, but was it, oh, was that, oh, highways, yeah.
We did the same.
That's the wedge top corner of the close.
Must have missed it.
Yeah, don't worry.
You know, I'm not perfect. Close.
Andrew. Near enough is close enough.
Next one.
So, well, those are the only two
Oh.
for consideration. We've got,
It's another 2.
That house behind in the car park.
sorry, yes, I was looking, I've got it. Yes, so this is a 07310. It's a variation to the brickwork and render on the rear of the building to reduce the height.
It's to match what's already
Yes,
there, isn't
yes,
it?
so
So the
I-
red would be actually out of
Yes.
kilter, so I
I
didn't see a problem
No,
with that.
I propose supporting it.
Yeah.
Good.
I'll second it.
Second. Graham? Any observations?
No, I mean, I'm always slightly nervous about that site purely because they've had put so many things through, and tried to sneak so many things through. So I just sort of find myself looking at it and thinking, oh, is this one, you know, and what's in this one? But I see no problem in that as described.
All in favour?
Thank you. 07097, this is the Snarlton Farm resubmission.
They have to go down Snarlton Lane to get in and out, yeah?
Yes. This,
On the other side of the
this is technically, this is
eastern.
mostly Melksham without, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this is,
Is that is a resubmission of an earlier one, and I think we concluded that actually the part of it that was in Melksham town was half of the road and some of the road junctions.
yes, and it's one of those that's really tied in with the local plan and
Yes, although this is outside some of that. I would be very much inclined here to suggest that as it's coming to Melksham without parish council on the 2nd of September, and we have another ECDEF before the 23rd, that could we ask them to get to the agenda for the next ECDEF meeting?
yes, that,
So that we can then consider Melksham without more full reaction to it, with a view to potentially endorsing them unless we desperately disagree.
Yeah, that would
Yes,
be more
that-
good, wouldn't it?
that's a good suggestion. Thank you, Graham.
Otherwise, we could spend hours looking at something which isn't really ours.
Well, that's the next
It's a
meeting.
bad pun.
Yeah.
Okay, do you need to
I'll
vote on
support
that?
So I'll second it.
Yeah.
And then we've got the decisions to note. Are 01673 14 Bank Street. This, I think from recollection, is Specsavers proposing to move across the road.
That was it, right.
And I noticed that they've got a to let sign on their current premises on street.
That was the 31st of July.
So
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, right,
that was
okay.
supported.
Yeah.
05912 is Sandbridge Road. Internal alterations that we supported. Trimming trees in Church Walk. And then we move on to item 9, LCWIP consultation. Over to you, I think, Graham, for simplicity.
Thank you, yes. The local cycling and walking infrastructure plan. Principle is wonderful to look at and see what's needed and what's required in the area. And there was an earlier consultation somewhat earlier in the year, for which I helped supply an input there, and there have been various changes made to it. This was a consultation opened on the 17th of June. Sorry, that should have been 17th of, I think it was July. And I asked for that to come to council right before the end of July, but it's only just arrived with us now. The consultation ends on the 6th of September.
Yes.
It is 80 pages long to answer. Melksham Without have done a very thorough job of going through it and doing a lot of stuff in there. Now, it's all very important stuff. I mean, I looked in my own ward, and one of the things that they're looking at is attention to Spa Road from here out to the corner of Coronation Road, which is perhaps the most dangerous road in town.
Yes.
And it would be wonderful to do something about that. The previous version of previous suggestion was that people coming in from Bower Hill might like to go up and round and through the houses and along Pembroke Road and that sort of way. I don't see walkers and cyclists wanting to do that extra distance.
You're referring to the old canal bridge as the pinch point for cycling.
I'm referring to that there, where there have been deaths and all sorts on that there. There's also issues at the corner of Coronation Road and Warwick Crescent, which, do I have to disclose, I lived up actually on that corner. And we actually have a high-vis jacket inside the house so that when we hear a bang, we can go out and redirect traffic. Which is something that we would like to be. So there are suggestions in there. Frankly, it needs an expert, which I am not, to look at and review and come with sensible things here. I'm looking here with just a week to go before the consultation closes as to what we could do. We could submit overview comments such as the ones I've made below, or something else based on the decision this evening, but my goodness, what a lot of work. We could, or in theory, would have professional staff take a look and under delegated powers bring it back to another meeting. But that is too late and that is gone. We could support and reference the response of Melksham without council from their 29th of July meeting, which are well thought through, though I don't know whether there are gaps related to the town. It is primarily a town thing for this. We could do a combination of the above, or we are actually in no legal requirement to respond whatsoever.
My thoughts when I looked through it this morning were, I actually wrote down a combination of 1 and 3, amalgamating your comments and remarks with Melksham Without's observations. Yeah. But quite what mechanism we adopt to achieve that, or anything else really with a week to go, I'm not quite sure.
I mean, one of the things I was very tempted to do, and I probably will do, is have a look through it personally over the weekend and put in personal comments. Which, you know, I'm free to do, as any member of the public is free to do. The only other way to do it would be to delegate. I mean, I'm not actually sure as to what's going to happen to this report in the medium term or the long term. I'm spending a lot of time working on a report which frankly sits on a shelf, is probably not best use of our time or our staff's time.
Yes.
So, I mean, I really don't know. We've already got a huge amount of data there, and I've been looking back to the Party for People stuff, and there is a vast amount of useful data there.
Yes, I think
The whole thing is overwhelming.
I think certainly if we do nothing else, I would certainly like to formally support the comments which Melksham Without has made. And yes, whether we go beyond that ourselves with the time available, I'm not quite sure. I don't believe that we currently have the staff resources available for officers to do anything significant.
I don't believe we do, and I don't believe within this room or in, and I might be, I don't know, Charlie might turn out to be a huge expert on cycling and walking, but I don't think within this room we've actually got the expertise to make authoritative comments ourselves.
No, I would agree with that.
And I don't know that we have on, you know, the staff not only the resources, but I'm not sure whether we'd actually, whether any of our staff would be happy to claim to say they're experts on this. They're not being employed as such.
I wouldn't want to put that sort of responsibility onto them, to be honest, myself. So I like your idea about making individual personal comments, and I would do the same myself. I only had the opportunity to read through it this morning, but we'll do so in more detail.
I mean, this is certainly something where we are both being relatively town centre based, could meet up over the next few days there and discuss through and learn from one another.
Yes.
And possibly if we put a view in here to say supporting Melksham Without, and I'm going to propose here, I'm making words up as I go along, that we say that this is, you know, it's a very important thing, and, you know, say quite openly, for which we don't within the town council have the skills or resources at present to be able to give this the justification it really deserves, please do come back with us and ask as you go through and as these things progress. We want to see progress made. It looks good to us. Something of that effect.
Yes, does that make sense?
Can that be worded more efficiently?
Do something, yeah. I just a thought, if you are going to submit personal comments, would it not be possible for this committee to, I think, as was done with the bus survey, that the committee delegated in it, or in effect said that they put their trust in your comments?
Yes. The problem with that is I don't put the trust in my own comments.
Yeah,
If you're meeting with,
You know, I'm not a politician, so I'm not afraid to say I don't know. I'm very weak in that area. Yeah, I cycle, I walk. I mean, I can spot some of the things there, but I have neither I don't really have the expertise to make valid comment. I mean, some of the folks at Wiltshire Council are very good, and I know the chap who wrote this here. There's some very good people there. Whether they actually have the local knowledge or not, because they can't. They're covering Melksham and Carn in this one. There's a Salisbury one out there. There's all sorts of things. They can't know. They can't have all of those there.
I think this, am I right in thinking the submissions are by email at this stage? So would you be able to say, look, these are primarily personal opinions of Graham Ellis and Andrew Griffin, but we are also submitting in our position as a member of the Economic Development Committee of Melksham Town Council?
Well, we could all email in and say, yes, we agree, or something.
I mean, I can certainly email, I've got to do, I can certainly email what you agreed that, you know, that
And circulate.
you support and you support Melksham River Parish Council, while accepting that there may be elements that within the town that Melksham Parish Council have not covered.
Yes.
You also, in your personal capacity, will be reviewing the document and maybe making further comments. I said, which we, you know, on personal capacity, but which could also be taken as being on behalf of Melksham Town Council.
I mean, one of the things I find myself wondering here, and I'm in a just think don't know on this one, is when this report is finally produced, what happens to it? Does it actually form the basis of policy for the next few years? Is it as important for walking and cycling as perhaps the neighbourhood plan is for some other things? Or is it going to be sitting on a shelf and gathering dust? I don't know the answer. I was relieved to find out that the cost of doing it came from a central fund and doesn't come from our immediate town taxpayers.
I mean, if Melksham Without have basically covered it, you don't really want to reinvent the wheel, as they say, do you?
No, I mean, certainly there was nothing that I would contradict within their observations.
I mean, I'm very much inclined to, let's go to the record and, support all the hard work that, that they've done.
Yes.
Well, I can certainly put in a response on that basis, perhaps including some of your overview comments, as you say, and also mention that members of the committee will be submitting or may be submitting additional personal comments.
Yes.
Yes.
Put it like that.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thank you.
Okay.
So next item then is Eastern Way Cycle Path.
Yes.
Over to you, Charlie.
Thanks very much. So this is a request to go to LHFIG again. This is about creating a safe connection between the Hunters Wood estate to the other estates that connect Blueberry Road, the Blueberry Road area. Because at the moment there are two refuges along Eastern Way. Both of them are too far apart, and there is a cycle path coming from Hunters Wood, which comes down, and you find a lot of, especially youngsters, but even adults, coming out at speed, expecting there to be a crossing, and there's not. There's a verge and then straight into the road. There's no safe crossing in the vicinity, and that's only going to get worse. They're going to be opening up the cycle or the new pathway to Melksham Oak. So it's going to be used heavily by youngsters who will be biking, walking, and there's just no safe passageway connecting the two directly. What I would like to ask LHVIG is to look at the possibility of creating, either taking one of the refuges and moving it, or creating an actual proper crossing point that's safe, that people can use there.
So since we're talking LHV, can I just ask playing devil's advocate here slightly? Is that the section of Eastern Way which actually is going to have less traffic on it when Rocket Road opens?
Yes, it should be having less traffic on it. Whether it actually will have less traffic on, especially if they are going to build new houses around that area like they have been discussing.
No, I appreciate that there. It's just, are we looking at it against current traffic conditions or future quick traffic conditions when eventually that new road opens?
Yeah, absolutely. And I get that. I mean, current traffic conditions are that it's very heavily used by cars.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that when the new road opens, temporarily it may relieve it, but I think in the future, more houses are going to be built out that way. Eventually, it will just become a rat run yet again. And I think, but you're having something, yeah, I do. I think having something safe for people, of all ages, to be able to cycle through and have that connection, knowing that they can cross safely, whether it's with traffic lights or a zebra crossing or an actual just.
Oh, I mean, it makes sense. And as that becomes a less major road, you can actually put more crossings that slow traffic down onto it.
Absolutely.
To some extent, I mean, I know I've carried a certain place and the crossing's a long way that way, a long way. It's not very far to be a long way away. You
Yeah.
just make a crossing straight across.
Absolutely.
To some extent, I'm playing devil's advocate with you, Charlie, to make sure I give you a kind questioning on this here before the highways engineers come and chuck it out at you on that basis.
That's
So
absolutely fine. Give me as hard a question as you like.
It's an argument which you can make against there, and you can comment that even with the traffic lessening, so that's an argument you can answer even in the case you put to LHVIG.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. No, and it's something that I've discussed as well with Mike Sankey and I have discussed this, Councillor Sankey, Wiltshire Council. We've discussed this as well, along with Councillor Westbrook. Councillor Sankey was in agreement that something did need to be put in there.
So do you want to
I'd
formally propose
I
it?
would like to propose yes to send this to LHVIG, please. If you
I'll second that as the LHVIG rep.
thank you very much.
Can that be minuted, please?
So shall we vote on it? All in favour?
I guess to LHVIG, yes.
And as the LHVIG rep, can I make a couple of comments about the last meeting, which I attended last week? There were two items in particular that relate to Melksham. The first one is that probate has now been granted and the changes in the road layout up at Maple Close, up by the Foresters Arms, can now go ahead. So we're looking forward to seeing some progress there in the very near future. And the other item was gone straight out of my head. It's the most important one anyway. If I think of it in a minute, I'll interrupt. That's straight out of my head.
So next item one is 10.2 Barnwell Road. A request from a resident about access to 2A Barnwell Road.
She was hoping to be, she's working, but she was hoping to join by Zoom, but I'm assuming she's not Michael's iPad.
So I have some sympathy with the situation that she reports in her request. But I looked at the planning application, which was granted back in 2019. One of the conditions that Highways imposed was that the hedge and anything similar on the property in question was reduced below 9 millimetres above the road height. And looking at Google Maps, that doesn't appear to have happened. And additionally, looking at the building as it is, appears to vary and be probably about 20% larger in the front elevation to what was included in the planning, the approved planning. So quite whether whoever constructed it complied with the planning permission, or what the implications of that are, I'm not sure. It's a tight, narrow road, and realistically, if a car is parked on one side of it, there isn't room for two cars to pass across. But there is a double access drop curb driveway in front of the house that should allow sufficient space for two vehicles to drive onto either forwards or probably more easily in reverse. So whilst I have sympathies, I'm not quite sure what we can do other than supporting the request that she's made to resolve the situation. It's a delicate one, I think.
This is Pat's wall, isn't it? Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Pat.
Yeah, that's right. It needs it. She hasn't been in touch with me about it, but anyway, mine. And I am familiar with the area, although not this particular problem. So I will have to go and have a look, before I can and have a chat with her as well. Yeah, I'll see what I can do.
If you're able to, I think to have a conversation with her would be,
And then-
and to
yeah.
see her in situ,
Yeah,
to
and,
get a better understanding.
But
of
it
what
should
the
go
problems
to,
are.
it should go to LHVIC because it is certainly something that they could look at. I mean, especially in relation to yellow lines and so on. So yeah, I'll deal with that.
Go on. Sorry.
It's all right. you can go.
I was just going to say, I mean, my thought would be to say, hey, have a look at it, Pat, you're the NHVIC rep, and take it to them, but say we will take it forward to that there.
Yeah,
But please bear in mind that this is a far from easy situation, easy case,
yeah.
and just open it up.
Well, the thing is that there'll be highway engineers there and you can look at it and give their own assessment and what can be done. So, which might be hard or easy, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a highways specialist, as you
it's-
guess.
The problem is that it's situated right on the corner of Barnwell Road and St Andrews Road,
Yeah,
and it's quite, although the road itself is relatively narrow, the junction is quite wide.
Mm.
So I can understand why vehicles may come around it more quickly than they should.
yeah. And I remembered what the other issue was. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah, go on.
Don't forget it again.
No, I won't.
The first thing I was going to say was that, like, I am always a bit like of going just by Google Maps without actually seeing a property because you just don't know when it's been updated.
No.
They could have chopped down all the hedges from paved the whole thing for all we know. I think, you know, I completely understand obviously her worry and the issues that she's having. I kind of just want to say, yeah, echo, definitely go about the double yellow lines around those corners as well. Stop any sort of like parking around there. But I mean, are there any what are they called? Sorry, I had it in my head a second ago and now I've just gone out of my head. No, that's all right. Yeah. Where they say it slows traffic down from any of the other roads, from like St Andrews Road or anything.
What, lumps in the road?
Almost, yeah, kind of, yeah,
Speed bumps.
reducing things,
Reducing,
yes.
reduce.
Does anyone know if there's anything like that in that area?
No.
There's nothing there at the moment.
But that's a possible answer, you see.
Which could
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
You would like to hope with how many junctions are around that area that they would
Mm.
be slower, but we
The-
know what people like speeding.
Certainly from her narrative description, it seems that the major problem is vehicles parking
Parking when
on
it
the
shouldn't be.
opposite side of
Yeah.
the road and restricting them.
Yeah, and everybody's got more than one car now, haven't they?
Yes.
So, yeah, that's one of the problems.
So Pat, yeah, if you are able to contact her.
Yes, I will do,
and arrange
yeah.
a site meeting perhaps,
Yeah.
but certainly, yes, I agree, I think we should support the application.
Yeah.
I'm happy to propose.
Yeah.
That we do that.
Yeah, that you support it, yeah, yeah.
In favour?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I go back to the
Oh,
issue? I've
yes,
got?
sorry.
Yeah, the other issue
LH
was
two.
of special interest was to mention was the high pavement. And this is being looked into yet once again. I did suggest somewhat impatiently that nobody had listened to my solution. So they patiently listened to my solution, which was to put a couple of great big planters there. And it was actually received quite enthusiastically. So is it Martin who looks after the LHV? He's going to investigate. He's going to go and have a look and see what we've got a bit further up the road.
It's on Bank Street.
On Main Street, yeah. And I said it will be the cheapest, and I said, it'll be there. They'll be big enough not to miss. I mean, the recent accident, which is the first one since 1941, apparently, when it was blackout anyway, the lady fell off there. But this latest accident was somebody who had been a guest at the pub and had walked backwards and fell off the road. And that is being looked into. But again, if there was something there to stop him, he might not have done, even if it was a planter of some sort, it would have stopped him from going any further.
Well, I think even if it didn't physically stop him, it would act as a
Deterrent.
as a note or
Yeah,
a notification to
yeah,
people that there
exactly.
is something there.
Yeah, exactly. So
Just to play devil's advocate though, you could, I suppose, if you backed into it, depending on how big it is, it could actually tip you over when you land on your head rather than land on
or
your.
he might sit in it.
Yeah, or
You could go right the way over and then you're sort of upside down falling down it rather than just.
Yeah, well, he landed in the road on his back, I think. But anyway, so yeah. Anyway, so it's being looked into. So I mean, there have been in the past so many ideas about how to sort this out, and it's hard to know where to go. We're just waiting for the magic answer. But anyway, a couple of flower things, and especially if we get some help with paying for them through NHFIG as a safety barrier.
We're talking about putting planters and stuff sort of along the streets anyway.
Well,
Could
exactly.
that come under, I thought
We've got that funding's
Yeah,
we're coming through anyway.
yeah.
Yeah, well,
So maybe that could be something.
well, we could suggest it when that comes up, but
Yeah.
let's see what NHFIG come up with first, because,
yes.
Yeah.
Good. So moving on to item number 11. Over to you, Graham, again.
Oh, thank you. I put this one in here. It says from councillor S, yes, but it came in from me for the Melksham Rail Interest and whatever. The train service at Melksham is thin but usable. It's a fair description, except cancellation rates have been up to 4, 5, 6 times what they should be. And actually looking back at weekends over the last few months, 20 to 25% of trains have been cancelled. Now, that doesn't necessarily matter if you are looking at a station such as the other main stations in West Wiltshire, which have another one along within 20 to 30 minutes. That's not the case in Melksham. it's 2 hours before the next train, and sometimes it's the same train going round, so if one's cancelled, so is the next one. It's not a unique problem to Melksham, but because of Melksham's situation, it's peculiarly bad for us. And the request here is, could the town council please send an official letter to the MD of Great Western saying, oi, please think of us, please get your finger out, I'm getting it a bit wrong here, please look to sorting the situation. Now, to be perfectly honest, he is not going to be able to easily do so because he is constrained by others, such as the Department for Transport, such as the local transport authorities or whatever. But with the new government in place here, now is a time of both great risk and great opportunity to do this, to put the case in and to get it looked at. So what I'm asking is, can we send a letter and openly copy it to a wide variety of very senior people to say, look, Melksham, you know, I've written some stuff, got some notes here. Melksham being a growing town in an urban area, passenger numbers up from 3,000 to 70,000, with a service that's moved up from 2 direct trains each way. The numbers look good, but remain below the average of Westworld's towns, which is 400,000, not 70,000 journeys, with an average urban area for the 5 towns of 22,000. So we are way, way below. How the town council has been supportive of the Melksham Rail Development Group over the years. How the community has a number of poor areas, and that's particularly the case in Pat's ward. Over a third of households don't have access to a private car or van. And asking if they can aim to reduce the train cancellation rates from something like 15%, it's been over weekends over the last 3 months, to 2%, which is the target within their contract anyway.
Yeah, that last bit's interesting. Do you know, Graham, is there a general cause of the cancellations? Is it
the majority of the cancellations are described as, here we go, short notice cancellations are reported as being due to lack of available crew or operational trains.
right? But the other thing I suppose to consider is that if the service through Melksham is cancelled or delayed, that also affects other stations on the same line.
Except that all the other stations on the line have alternating trains. So if you're travelling from Swindon or Chippenham to Trowbridge or Westbury or vice versa, which is on the same line, there is a standard ticket exemption in place. Oh, go via Bath, your ticket will be accepted, and it extends the journey by 20 to 30 minutes.
Right.
So it is a problem which is peculiar to Melksham in the effect it has on the town. I've been very careful here to mention short-term cancellations, because also there has been the issue, which did not come in the figures, of strikes, which put a lot of people off. And coming up this autumn, we have 9 days where we're reduced to just 2 trains for each of those 9 days, because our line is being taken over by important long-distance expresses from London to Cornwall. I'm choosing not to raise that issue in what I'm asking the town council to send us a letter.
Yes. Are they potentially subject to any financial penalties within their operational contracts?
I don't know. As a franchise, they would have been. As an operational contract, there is going to be a degree of penalty there. It is not a problem that is unique to Melksham. You can see probably 15 to 20% cancellations at other West Wilts towns as well. However, if your train doesn't turn up at Bradford on Avon, there's another one along 20 minutes later. If another one doesn't, if the 10:02 doesn't run at, well, the ultimate going south, if the 6:36 doesn't turn up, never mind, there's another one at 9:10. Yeah. And the obtaining of alternative bus or taxi services in this area is appalling.
Can I suggest then that, just assuming this is approved by the members present, that you liaise with Andrew to come up with some suitable wording.
I had an approach, I worked out what I thought was appropriate wording, which I've put through to Tracy and Andrew. In fact, I put that through this morning. I was awake in the early hours doing this, but it's quiet. And then so that wording, should that wording be approved, then that's something to get through. Obviously, with Andrew and Tracy having a look through it.
Tracy's happy with that wording. He's actually emailed me to say, yeah, just use that, and I've got a signature.
It's not going to make an immediate difference. I put in some targets here. So could we look to return to the minimum level with septic cancellations by the end of the year? I'm not trying to look for anything silly. And I'm asking if they can come back to us for our meeting for the end of October so that we can see some progress.
I'm happy to propose that we take that decision.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Those in favour? Thank you.
Yep.
Request for traffic survey, item 12. Extends to me.
Is that asking us to put up those what do you call them, SIDS? By any chance, is that what we need to do here?
I was reading it that they are asking us to request Wiltshire Council to conduct a survey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the way I interpreted it.
Yeah, well, I dare say the survey will come back that 85 percentile or something is that people are keeping to the 20 miles an hour and nothing much will change. But if you do put up the SIDS, then people do actually slow down. The people that need to slow down, slow down.
Yes, I suspect that although local residents consider that vehicles appear to be exceeding the limit,
That may
unless it's actually measured and observed in a formal way, there won't be any evidence to support any further action.
And we can always do that.
yeah,
So
but that might take a while to do though.
It may do, but I don't see that this request is going to cause us any problems.
No, but SIDS would be a quicker way of solving the problem.
If it's only a temporary solution, because we're not going to keep them there permanently, it's not going to stop them permanently, and people at the moment they see that they're gone, they'll just speed up again. So if we can do a survey and it turns out that there is cause, there could be more of a permanent solution than put in.
Yeah.
And you want to do that before you put in any temporary things, because you don't want to kind of almost alert people that we're doing it.
Yeah, but the permanent solution is to have a 20-mile-an-hour limit and people are not taking any notice of it. You know, I mean, what else can you do?
Well, put in those speed bumps or something, or traffic calming. That's the word I was looking for.
Traffic calming.
Well, you know, I mean, you look up at Forest Road, you've got bumps in the road and all sorts of things. Not that I necessarily, Kenilworth Gardens is a relatively long, straight section, or the top section is. And I mean, you know, you've already down from 30, been down from 30 to 20. Frankly, people will probably go on 35 anyway, or more. And you know, you can reduce the limit to such a low figure that people just ignore it. So there's a psychology here as well.
Yeah, well, and of course, there's lots of parked cars there at certain times of the day, and in the middle of the day, it's quite empty, and that's when the excess speeding is
Yeah,
happening.
there's a lovely little back run through.
And I mean, when there's lots of parked cars, you have to go more slowly because you just can't go faster.
You say that, but actually in the East Ward, we found that's not the
Oh,
case.
right.
There are parks and they're still speeding.
I would point out that the request has come from a police officer who is a road safety officer, and therefore presumably she thinks it will have a benefit.
Yes.
Otherwise she wouldn't have asked.
So I propose
I'm not
that we,
against it, yeah, I'm not
I
against
propose that we,
I'm second
We can indeed ask for a survey. Yes.
yes.
second that.
Thank you.
We're voting.
Yeah.
I'd already written you that, sorry.
Item 13, they're going to close part of a road somewhere over there. Noted.
Yes.
And item 14, Paris Stewart.
bus shelter in Blackmore Road needs cleaning. I asked Hugh last week if he could, well, I hoped he would suggest that he would send someone round to get it cleaned, but he suggested the parish steward. Somebody's been graffitiing it with something red. And there's another bus shelter as well that needed some attention, but I've forgotten which one it was. Anyway, the one at the bottom of Blackmore Road definitely needs a spring clean. And then there's all the leaves and other dead vegetation on the road down past the library that's closed down toward Union Street. Between Union Street and the High Street, it's pretty mucky, so that needs cleaning up, please. I say that every time. Needs somebody with a wheelbarrow and a brush. That's kind of brush.
And a big high vis.
And a what?
And a big high vis.
Yeah.
If you can remember where the other bus shelter is, just email me. It doesn't have to be for this, I can put it on, any time, I can put it on the phone.
Shelters.
It wasn't as bad as the one, but I remember I was driving somewhere in town and I thought, oh, there's another one, but it just.
Okay, before we finish the recording, not specifically an ECDEB thing, but I just wanted to mention it to you and to anybody who's listening. Park yoga. Park yoga
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
on Sunday.
yeah.
Okay, we're not going to Foresters. It is going to the field behind the campus, next to the cricket pitch.
Oh.
So if you, obviously Sarah is sharing it, Hannah will be sharing it on her socials, but if you know anybody that goes to Park Yoga or you want to put it on your social media,
So
that's literally behind the campus. So where you go past the campus,
Between the campus.
you got the cricket pavilion,
Oh,
and to the left of it is a big wide open space which belongs to County Council.
Used to be the rugby field.
Yes. We're doing it there.
Makes sense.
is it the last one?
I think there's a couple to go.
Is that going to be its new permanent home?
No, it's literally just for this one. Obviously, Wiltshire Council, I mean, obviously, I don't think the campus would be too keen on it being there all the time because it would, they have their own sort of things, but they are happy for this one off for it to be there.
So that's for the 1st of September, that's for the.
That's the Sunday of the Sunday coming.
The 1st of September. Also, just while the public are listening, if I may, this Sunday, the bus service to Bath doubles, so it becomes hourly, not every 2 hours. And that is far from, that is last, because I'm hearing reports from residents that the bus was so full and standing into Bath last Sunday that it was actually driving past stops and couldn't take people, which on a 2-hourly bus service is not clever.
Nobody's going to Bath this Sunday, Graham. They're all going to the KBC.
No one's going to Bath, and you can come to there, because actually I have some timetables for that bus.
I took it to Bath last Sunday and I couldn't get there at the time that I wanted.
Starts an hour earlier, runs hourly, not 2 hourly.
What time's the last one back?
It's basically the same as it has been. Sorry. The one thing we are short of on the Bath bus is Sunday evenings.
Yeah.
The buses to Chippenham and Trowbridge on a Sunday are working reasonably. Again, no evening service there.
And that is just the Sunday service that's getting double.
Yes. The service to Bath during the week is every half hour.
Um,
And
but
Right.
well, yes, it's purely Sunday improvements.
So, nothing else?
Okay.
Meeting closed. Thank you very much.
Is that happening?